I'm Bill Watterson. I directed the adventure comedy Dave Made a Maze, and you are watching Heartfire Film. Dave Made a Maze is an adventure comedy kind of in the vein of those great 80s movies like Goonies and Labyrinth. But instead of a plucky band of kids, we take a bunch of F-bomb dropping adults on the adventure. Dave's a frustrated artist. He builds a cardboard box fort in his living room out of frustration. When his girlfriend comes home, it turns out he's trapped inside. And she goes inside to rescue him and discovers that inside the maze is a giant, impossible fantasy world all made of cardboard. And it's just the journey in and then back out of the maze. And I know we had about 200 people in the film overall, but that includes volunteers who are helping us fold origami for an afternoon. That includes people who came in just to twist one gear for one shot. But as far as specifically the set building department, I'm not sure, but it was by far the largest department on the film. It was an army of people with a battery of glue guns just going at it, and it was impressive to watch. 30,000 square feet of cardboard and 3,000 glue gun sticks, hot glue gun sticks, and counting. It was 6 years ago that we had the initial idea and the beginnings of a draft, and then many years of fundraising, and during that time that was a great chance to keep tweaking the draft and getting it just right. And then we shot principal photography in May of 2015, but we did not have a post budget in place. We only had enough money to get it in the can, as they say. So we did that. And then it was a while of nights and weekends, favors, and additional fundraising to get through the post-production process. And we finally debuted in January of 2017. We wrapped principal photography with all of the actors. We had 4 days spread out of post where we did some puppetry, some miniatures, some inserts, things like that. But those didn't involve any of our principal cast. So technically it was 24 days of shooting, but things like what you've seen the film now, so that the zoetrope and things like that was a day. We didn't need any cast for that. That was all inserts. But we only just did that in December. I came up as a kid in the 80s loving adventure movies that we didn't have CGI yet. So everything that you saw on screen, even if it was a composite shot, it still was something composited with something tangible and real and three-dimensional that you could hold in your hand. Or it was animatronic, or it was a miniature, or a forced perspective, or a puppet. But regardless of what it was something you felt you could hold in your hand. And no disrespect to CGI, I've seen some wonderful films that do a brilliant job of incorporating it seamlessly and deliberately not seamlessly. But that just isn't the same to me as those things you can hold in your hand that really ignite your imagination and make you feel like you could be there, that could be you, that could happen. So that was a mandate going in, and also it's a function of the story as well. The story is about an artist, someone who makes things with his hands. So if we introduce this character who makes things with his hands, then everything he made was green screen, that would be a lie to the audience, that we didn't want to do that. We wanted the whole movie to be shot through with practical effects, things you could touch, and have a really tactile experience. And it was more fun. It was more fun on set to be capturing things that were actually happening. It was more fun for the actors. It was more fun to stage. It was super exciting to watch it all come together. And you know, when you need cardboard buzzsaws and there's a guy holding a cardboard buzzsaw, you're like, great, this is going to be awesome. It was a really fun way to make a movie. It's a very personal film in many ways. But I also knew once we started really identifying the themes of the creative process, that doesn't just apply to artists, and the frustration that you have when you're trying to make something. That doesn't just apply to artists. You're trying to make a family, you're trying to make a living, you're talking about that project in the yard you're going to complete and you never have. You know, that actually is universal, and it started being more and more aware to me as we were building the team, and actors and production designers would come to meet and say, "You're making a movie about me." assistant directors too, even our AD was like, this is great, this is about me, I know this feeling. And that's when it started to become clear that we actually had tapped into something a little bit more universal. Having said that, I'm still surprised. I'm still surprised how well it's been received, how many festivals we've been able to participate in. It's exciting. I mean, I met all of my favorite movies. I hate to even say this because I don't want to be broke, but all of my favorite movies didn't land in their time. So I didn't make this movie thinking that would happen to us as well. But you also have to accept that if you make a movie that you want to make, we made the movie we wanted to make, then there's no expectations attached to that. We didn't make a movie for the people. We didn't make a movie to make money. We made a movie that we wanted to make. And whether or not it lands, whether or not it's well received, whether or not it gains any traction or popularity is out of our control. We did what we said we were going to do. We did what we wanted to do. And that has to be enough. And it is. As I said, the movie is very personal, so lines like Harry's line, "You never have to fail if you never finish anything," that was weighing heavily on year 4 and year 5 of the project not being finished. It was hard to hear that in the edit bay. Like, I know! Annie yelling at Dave, "Why do you have to make it so hard?" I mean, there are a lot of mountains to climb that we put in front of ourselves deliberately. Like, we knew when we wrote that line, "You never have to fail if you never finish anything," we knew we had just given ourselves a mandate. Well, now we have to finish it, or we have utterly failed. So to get to the other side and to actually do what we said we were going to do, complete the project, finish it, is so satisfying. And it just made me want to do it again. But as far as things that I've learned along the way, it's definitely setting people up to succeed, and getting the right people that you trust in the right position, and then getting out of the way. Giving them enough that they have something to work with, so they're not rudderless, directionless, but trusting them and knowing that they believe in the project too, and they want to tell the story too, and genuinely collaborating with them to get it done, as opposed to, I didn't come in as a dictator at all. I'd been on enough sets to know that wasn't going to accomplish anything, and I knew how much I needed everyone as a first-timer and with no budget and this much ambition. There was no way it was going to get done by force of my will. It had to be everybody on board and everybody going all in. So a lot of it was trusting everyone else the way that they trusted me, and getting out of their way and making sure that they were set up to succeed. I was never concerned about word perfect. I mean, we chose every word carefully, but then it has to have life breathed into it by the actors. So I didn't feel the need, at least in this project, to have the actors be beholden to exactly what was on the page. And I also had a lot of gifted improvisers in the cast and brilliant comedians. So I wanted them, first of all, to feel free, because that's where they were going to do their best work. And secondly, you never know what you're going to get. I mean, that's another thing about directing, is you can have a plan, but it's never going to go exactly according to plan, and you have to be open to the things that happen spontaneously. So there are some great moments that weren't necessarily scripted, and even specifically, I remember working with James Urbaniak. There was a whole beat that he had a question about, that he thought we were repeating ourselves and there was an opportunity to do something more, and he was right, and we ran with that, and it's become one of my favorite moments in the film. And if I hadn't been open to that, if I had said, "No, that's on the page," we wouldn't have that moment. But as far as the script supervisor, we were talking about collaboration earlier, I had a great sort of nucleus of people who weren't going to let us leave the room until we had the scene. And it was because they were so invested in the story, and they knew what we were trying to do. And it was our script supervisor, Amy Arda, the cinematographer, John Bowl, and the first AD, Alex Armero. That was sort of my brain trust, and we always checked in with each other. Is this enough? Do we have this? Are we covered for what we're shooting next week for the next scene? Did we catch this moment? It's not that I was deferring to them, but it was a brain trust, and we made sure we were all on the same page, and we were all double checking everything to make sure we didn't move on without missing something, because every set got destroyed the minute we were done shooting it. So there was no going back. So we had to get it all in that moment. And we didn't even have overtime with the actors. I mean, we had no time. So we had to constantly be moving on, but we also knew we were going to shoot ourselves in the foot if we weren't super diligent. So that was for me, that was perfect. That brain trust to know if everyone on this team says we got it, then we got it. The festival's been great. They've been great as far as accommodations, taking care of us, making sure we know where we're going, and having people liaisons looking after us so we don't get lost and we're on time. And even just the mechanics of it have been great. But beyond that, what's been most special for this film is I did not realize the extent to which Atlanta was a hotbed of puppetry. And so many people who are into the production design side of things and the practical side of things. I knew Atlanta was a production hub, but that specific side of production I didn't know. There was so much of it here and so much appreciation for it here. So once I started looking into that and getting that feedback, I knew we were in the right place. And yeah, it was a great first night. They called us for a 6:15 check, and I thought we were just going to do a sound check, and it turned out there was a whole red carpet and a whole press junket. I wasn't expecting any of that. So that was a thrill. The crowd was raucous, in a good mood, ready for the movie, super supportive. And then, you know, the after party was great. I drank way too much. I met a bunch of people, hopefully potential collaborators, and a bunch of filmmakers whose movies hopefully I'm going to get a chance to see through the rest of the festival. That's my favorite part of the festivals, is seeing what other people are up to. And this one in particular has a high caliber of talent, and I can't wait to be in the audience for it. You can find Dave Made a Maze on Instagram at Dave Made a Maze, on Twitter at Dave Made a Tweet, and we're on Facebook as well at Dave Made a Fan Page, which is super clever. And then we also have our own website, DaveMadeAMaze.com, where there's all kinds of information about when we're coming to your town, DVD pre-sales, things like that, and the future distribution of the film. So find us, connect with us. We'd love to share the movie with you.